Hey guys, Mr. Roden here. Just want to do a quick lesson on literal equations. It's kind of stuff we've been doing. It's basically solving equations with letters and mainly letters and variables and not as many numbers. But there are numbers on these problems. So I want to go over some examples with you and I want you to write these down. And then there's going to be a secret code in here somewhere. You never know where I'm going to put the secret code. You cannot get any credit for these notes unless you write down the secret code. So make sure you have that. I don't ever write the secret code. I always say the secret code. And so you never know when I'm going to say it. I might say it at the beginning, I might say it at the end, or I might say it in the middle. You just never know where I'm going to say the secret code. Okay. All right. So number one says, and I want you to write these down, these examples. So this is example number one. And I want to know it says solve the following equation for A. Be sure to take into account whether it's capitalized because this came from a Delta math problem. So what do I want to solve for? I want to solve for capital A. So I want to get this capital A all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do a fairness bar. I'm going to do a fairness bar here. And then what I'm going to do is now what is connected to the A? Well, the D is connected to the A. And how is the D connected to the A? If there's no symbol in between, that means multiplication. So we know there's this spooky multiplication dot right here between the D and the A that we're never going to write. We just have to know it's there. So how do we get rid of a multiplication of D? Well, yeah, we're just going to divide. We do the inverse operation of D. So we're going to divide by D. So our answer is D will cancel D here. So those cancel out to 1. And so capital A is going to equal F over D. And you're done. That's the answer. Okay, so in Delta Math, you would just put in this part. And you'd say F, and then you'd hit the slash key next to the question mark, and then D. And that would be your answer. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's do this one. This is number 2. Write this one down. Now, what are we trying to do on number 2? We're trying to solve for capital B. All right, so we want to get this capital B by itself. I have no idea what this capital B stands for. These are just equations. They were just practicing moving things around. Now, what's connected to my capital D? Well, what's connected to my capital D is negative F. I'm adding a negative F to it. Well, what's the opposite of adding a negative F? Well, adding a positive F to both sides. So I'm going to add a positive F because negative F plus positive F cancels out. These two cancel out. So in this case, negative F cancels positive F, and now B is all by itself. That's the whole point here, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just on the right side, and this is the part that I'll enter into Delta Math. I'm just going to put N plus F. I cannot add an N and an F. Those are two different things. I think one of our students yesterday called that a chidduck. If I try to say that's NF, no, that's a chidduck. You can't add an N and an F. They're two different things. All right. Now, this might be a good time to give you the secret code. So the secret code is, I don't feel like I haven't come up with the secret code yet. All right. Let's see here. The next problem is number 3. So this one we want to solve for letter A. We want to solve for the letter A. So this is number 3. If you would write down these problems, you don't have to write down all the directions, but I do want you to write down this problem with a fairness bar here. So what are we trying to solve for? We're trying to solve for little a. Well, here's little a right here, right? Well, what's connected to little a? What's connected to little a is divided by D. We're dividing by D. See how we're dividing by D here? What's the inverse operation of dividing by D? Let me erase that really quick. Sorry. What's the inverse operation of dividing by D? Well, yeah, we're going to multiply by D. Multiplication is the inverse operation of division. So I'm going to multiply by D on both sides to undo the division of D. When you multiply by D and divide by D at the same time, they cancel out. They cancel each other out to 1. And now what are you left with? You're left with little a, and that was the whole point. We wanted to be left with little a. So little a equals capital G times D. And I'm not even going to put the little time sign there. I'm just going to put GD because I do not need to put a dot for multiplication. I know it's multiplication. So in delta math for this problem, I just put capital G and D. That's all I would do. Okay. All right, next problem. This is number 4. Now we're getting into some a little more exciting ones, okay? So this one I want to solve for capital A. So this is what number is this? This is number 4. So this one looks really complicated and hard, right? And we want to get big A by itself. Now, what's connected to big A? Well, all this stuff down here is connected to big A. See all this stuff, 4 capital B plus G squared? That's what's connected. This is one whole kind of package here, right? So this whole thing is connected to big A, and I want to get rid of that whole thing. Now, how do I get rid of dividing by something? Because remember, this big fraction bar, that means divide there. See, I'm taking A and I'm dividing it by everything that's highlighted right there. Well, how do I get rid of everything that's highlighted? Well, I just multiply everything that's highlighted. So I just multiply 4b plus g to the second power. And then I have to do the same thing on the other side. 4b plus g to the second power. And so this cancels this, and now a is by itself. Now, I'm going to swap this and bring it down right here. Now, it's kind of messy. So we have the h, and then we have in parentheses, we have this whole 4b plus g squared. And that's how I would put it into delta math. Now, how do you do a g squared, a g to the second power? The best way is shift 6. So you'd hit G shift 6 2. Okay, so if you have a question on that when you're actually doing the delta math problems, let us know. But if you hit G shift 6, then you would then that's how you'd get the power of 2. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do number 5. Number 5. All right, number 5 is we want to solve for, I believe in this problem, we want to solve for D. I didn't write down the directions. We want to get D by itself. Now, how do I get this D by itself? Well, I'm multiplying by 4/3. Now, how do I get rid of a fraction times a variable? I need to multiply by the reciprocal. What is the reciprocal of 4/3? The reciprocal of 4/3 is 3/4. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/4. That's the reciprocal. Remember, this is the reciprocal. Okay, when to get rid of a fraction, you multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So when you do that, 3 will cancel 3 on this side, 4 will cancel 4 on this side, and now you're just left with D. So your final answer is going to be 3/4 G, because we like to put the number in front of the variable. And this is the part that you would enter into delta. I think you would actually enter this whole equation in, sorry. I think in delta math, you actually have to enter the whole equation in. I can't remember, so you'll have to see it. Either if it says D equals in delta math, then you can just enter it in the 3/4 G. If it just leaves an empty box, you have to say D equals 3/4 G. So I'll let delta math tell you what to do on that one. Feeling kind of like giving you a secret code, but not quite yet. Okay, so I think the secret code is coming. I'm getting very close to giving you the secret code, but not quite yet. All right. What's the next problem here? We want to solve for A here, right? So this is example number 6. Example number 6 is R equals A to the times B minus H in parentheses. So what we want to do is we want to get this A by itself. Now, what's connected to A? This whole set of parentheses right here is connected to A by multiplication. Remember, there's a little hidden multiplication sign in between there right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by that green part, the B minus H. So we're going to divide both sides by B minus H. And we're going to divide this side by B minus H. And when you do that, B minus H cancels B minus H. So now you have A equals, and then I'm just going to take this part and put it right here, R over b minus h. And you can leave this in parentheses or not. It doesn't matter. These parentheses are optional right here. So, all right. And that's what you'd enter in Delta Math. All right. Let's try this one right here. We want to solve for capital B. Well, how do we solve for capital B? We want to get rid of this 1/5 times B. Well, what's the inverse? What's the reciprocal of 1/5? The reciprocal of 1/5 is 5 over 1. So we're going to multiply both things by 5 over 1. Okay? So when we do that, 5 cancels 5. I'll do my fairness bar. 1 cancels 1. So we get B equals. Now we're going to take that 5, and I'm going to write it like this first. I'm going to put the 5 out in front. Now, I think Delta Math will accept this answer, but you can also, I believe, distribute that through if you wanted to. You could distribute the 5 through, so you get B equals 5D plus 5F. I think either of these Delta Math will be okay with. Either one of those answers, okay? All right, so what number was that? That was number 7. I think it's time for the secret code now, okay? Here's the secret code. The secret code is high school math is fun. High school math is fun. That is the secret code. And I want you to write that in box 8. Box 8, high school math is fun. In box 8. All right, so that concludes my lesson on literal equations. Now it's time for you to practice in Delta Math. So go ahead and go into your Delta Math and show these notes to your teacher so you can get your points. And have a wonderful day. We'll see you later. Bye.